There were some really good additions. We're going to start with number 5, and honestly, a team, I think they could have moved higher. What I like, I really like what Baker Mayfield has done the last 2 years. And you look at their stats from the prior year. They were second in points per game. They were second in total yards per game. They were second in pass yards per game. And honestly, I didn't realize this, but between Bucky Irving and Rachaad White, they were third in rushing yards per game.
Now, initially, I was thinking he was wrong, but I did go back and look at some of the stats from last year, and he's dead on, honestly. Third in yards per game. Let's see where they are, passing yards per game. So they're third in passing yards per game. Pretty impressive. And then fourth in rushing yards per game. And then where are they? Fourth in offensive points per game. So that offense is up there. Now, stats doesn't mean everything. Obviously, for example, the Eagles, how many games did they take their starters out and things of that nature, that when they could have just padded their stats and continued to blow teams out. So I agree, though. They got the quarterback, they got the receiving, they got the run game. I have to say I'm in agreement on number 5 for Tampa Bay Bucks. However, I do think you can argue Green Bay is in there. Green Bay has a really good run game, a good quarterback. I think they're a little bit weak at wide receiver compared to some of these other teams on this list. That's why I would probably agree with him on number 5 on the Bucks.
Number 4, Cliff Kingsbury, Jaden Daniels. Your rookie premiere was one of the best rookie seasons we've ever seen, dude. You are absolute balling right now. And then what do? You go out there and you get better. You get a guy by the name of Deebo Samuel, a guy you can throw bubble screens to, a guy you can throw quick screens through. And then you go out, you trade for Laramie Tunsil. Protect the quarterback at all costs. You sign Nate Herbig from Pittsburgh as well. So not only do you have Scary Terry, you have Deebo, you got Brian Robinson, you got Zach Ertz. It just keeps getting better. And honestly, I put them at 4. They could have been higher.
And I hate to say it as an Eagles fan, but I do agree. I'm very impressed with Jaden McDaniels. Jaden McDaniels came out and had a baller season. Now, that doesn't mean he's not going to have a tough sophomore season next year. We got to see how he adjusts. Now, they did add Deebo Samuels, but I'm not the biggest fan. I think he's, at this point in his career, he's injury prone. He's got a lot of tread on those tires. So will he be able to stay healthy? Definitely think they could have got somebody else, a receiver like Devontae Adams or Metcalf. Either one of those guys, to me, would have been better. But I agree. I love that they re-signed Zach Ertz. I think Zach Ertz brings a lot to an offense, and he's found a good fit there. I hate seeing Zach Ertz as an Eagles fan on the Washington Commanders, but it is a good move. It is a good offense. So I'm in agreement. I would put them at 4, and the reason I would put them over the Bucks is I like the quarterback a little bit better, but I am wondering if Washington will have a tough second year with Jaden McDaniels at quarterback.
I just love how Jaden Daniels has played the game as a rookie. Is it going to be a sophomore slump or not? We shall see. Number 3, you know what it is, the Los Angeles Rams. They really came on last year. I love Matthew Stafford, was teammates with them. Matthew Stafford's like the ageless wonder, man. He's aging like fine wine. He just keeps getting better. Okay, they were 11th in points per game, 7th in passing yards per game, but 13th in rushing yards per game. You look at Puka Nacua, obviously the big addition for them, which could vault them to the number 1 spot next time we do this, Emmanuel Ocho, is Devontae Adams.
So I agree. I would probably put Rams 3 because of the Devontae Adams addition. I believe that could be a huge addition. I believe Stafford is still an elite quarterback. However, my argument for 3, and I've been going back and forth on this, is I'm not the biggest fan of the Rams' run game. I think they need a better running back. I thought at times they lacked explosive plays in the run game last year. However, he is a workhorse. He is a guy that can get some tough yards, but I would like to see a more explosive run game for the Rams. But Stafford, I think he's shown in the playoffs, he's still a stud quarterback. They almost beat the Eagles. I mean, they came down to the final drive of the game. And if it wasn't for Jalen Carter, they might have won that game. The Eagles would not have won the Super Bowl. I think the Rams are right there. They're one of the scariest teams in the NFC. And I think they are better than they were last year. And they've been drafting excellent.
Love it. Number 2, the Detroit Lions. This was tough, but I like it. Obviously, they lose their offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson, to an NFC North rival in the Chicago Bears. Who's taken over? Johnny Morton. I was with Johnny Morton. He's got some Saints background back in 2017 when he was helping out with the New Orleans Saints. This offense will continue to run through Jared Goff, but it's that two-headed monster, right? Gibbs, Montgomery, you got St. Brown, you got Jameson Williams, you got Laporta, you got the guy out of Arkansas that they just drafted. It just continues to retool. The only question I have here is how in the world is Johnny Mo going to change that offense? Jared Goff, you continue to do well in somewhat not big games. In big games, I need you to step up, my man.
Again, I agree here. The biggest issue with Detroit is now you got a new offensive coordinator. But that can work. It probably means might have a slower start. However, when you're a run-first team, and you're a team that can run the ball the way they can, you can rely on that run game to get adjusted to the new offensive coordinator. I believe they'll probably come out a little bit slower than normal, but they still have all the weapons there. And they're a team. I put them over the Rams, the Commanders, the Bucks because I love their running game. I love the way they can run. They're explosive. They're explosive at the running back, but then they got Montgomery for those hard yards. Beautiful. The biggest problem, and the only reason I would not put the Lions over the Eagles, is I'm still not the biggest Jared Goff fan. I think he's a great regular season quarterback. I don't trust him in the playoffs. Okay? I thought he choked in the playoffs against Washington. I thought he was horrible in that game. How many turnovers did he have? I can't even remember. But he was choked at big moments. He threw interceptions. I wasn't impressed with how he played when he was with the Rams in the Super Bowl. That's why the Rams got rid of him. So I'm not a big believer in Jared Goff as far as getting to the Super Bowl. However, in the regular season, he is an elite quarterback in the regular season. He's going to play great in the regular season. And for that reason, I do think they are at number 2.
You know what it is, Shady McCoy? Number 1, the Philadelphia Eagles. You have to be able to run the football in today's day and age when the NFL, Saquon Barkley, the best season we have ever seen by any running back in the history of the game. And then you got Jalen Hurts throwing the football who can run as well. You got that two-headed monster receiver. You got A.J. Brown. You got Devontae Smith. Dallas Goedert is still there. They just continue to get better, and they retooled that offensive line. They just paid Cam Jurgens a lot of money. I like it. I think the Eagles this year, they're going to continue to lean on the run. They're going to continue to lean on Jalen Hurts. You know, it's open for assumption, but how'd I do, Acho? I think it was pretty good.
And agreed. I think it's an easy one there. The Eagles are the number 1 offense in the NFC, and to me, in the whole National Football League. Why? You got the best running back currently in the NFL, Saquon Barkley, 2,000-yard back. Now, he probably won't have 2,000 yards next year. I'm thinking around 1,700. But he's still going to be just as lethal, just as effective. The Eagles have the number 1 offensive line in football. I don't care what anyone says. It's the best offensive line, and they have the best offensive line coach. Now, they do have a new offensive coordinator too. So like Detroit Lions, it could affect them early. So maybe statistically, they're not the number 1 offense in football next year. But when it comes down to it, when it comes down to the playoffs, they got going to be the number 1 offense in football. They have the best wide receiver duel in football. They, so far, currently, as I do this video, still have Dallas Goedert as a tight end. I think if they get rid of him, that could change things slightly because to me, Dallas Goedert is a top 10 tight end when he's healthy. He's really good. If you watched what he did in the playoffs, the plays he made, he's physical, he blocks well, he pass receiving well. So he does it all well. So I believe Dallas Goedert could be the tipping point, but I do believe the Eagles will go into the season with him as their tight end. But that could happen. I mean, it wouldn't shock me if they traded him. But I do believe at this point they weren't able to get a tight end in the draft. I believe they will have to stick with him one more year, and then he'll let him walk as a free agent and get another compensatory pick that way. And then they got so many picks, like 13 picks next year or something like that. So they'll draft another tight end and replace him in the future next year. So, but currently going into this season, the Eagles have the number one offensive line. They have the best wide receiver duel in the NFL. I don't care. I'll put those two guys, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, against any two wide receivers in football. In my mind, they're the best at it. They don't even have to use them all that much because they got the best run game. But I do believe people will key more on Saquon Barkley this year. It's going to be a little bit tougher running the ball. But that means that I believe the Eagles will be a more balanced offense going into this next season. They'll figure out the passing game a little bit more, and you'll see A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, I think, are going to have some big seasons this year. I still believe Barkley will be 1,700 yard back, and I believe they're going to be the number one offense in the NFC, and I believe the Eagles will probably repeat as champs. That's my prediction. I still believe they're just heads and shoulders above everybody else. I think, to me, out of all the teams in the NFC East, the Rams scare me the most because they got a quarterback, they got a coach, they got some young guys on defense that really can do some damage, and they were very close to beating the Eagles. The Lions too, but I believe Jared Goff is not a big game quarterback. That's why I felt confident that the Eagles would have beat them last year had they played them. Now Washington, they still have a young quarterback. That quarterback I'm a big fan of. He's a big-time player. I'm wondering, though, if they're going to have a little bit of a rough season this year in his second year. That's typical for what we see with quarterbacks coming off their rookie season. The Bucs are good, but I don't believe the Bucs can compete with the Eagles, the Lions, or the Rams going into this next season. So anyways, guys, I actually agree with his top 5 offenses in the NFC. I think, Green Bay could be right up there at 6. Atlanta's close. I'm not too crazy about Atlanta's quarterback situation to put them up there right now. And then who else would be up there? Minnesota. Nah, I don't think anyone else. I think that's the top 5 quarterbacks. Green Bay, to me, is right up there. Oh, yeah, San Francisco. Brock Purdy. They lost Deebo Samuels. I think they're going to take a step back. If McCaffrey's healthy, obviously they're right up there too. But, he's old, a lot of miles on that tires. So I don't know if he's going to stay healthy. And again, even that's also a question with the Eagles, Saquon Barkley. He had a lot of carries last year. Can he stay healthy? But I think he can, because I think that offensive line will protect him, will get him past that first line of defenders. And those guys in the secondary, they ain't going to do shit to Saquon Barkley. So anyways, for once, I actually agree with Chase Daniels. That's the top 5 NFC offenses. And, let me know what you guys think down below. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you next time.
'Cause that's the bottom line. 'Cause Stone Cold said so.